Hey guys, welcome back to the car scene and welcome to the VW Golf GTD, the VRGR. I've borrowed this car from VW Lindsay Saker In Fourways, and a lot of you guys are actually asking me to do a bit of a Golf GTI and Golf GTD comparison. Unfortunately, I can't do that because I haven't been afforded the chance to drive a Golf GTI. So VW South Africa, if you are listening, I would absolutely love to do a review comparing the two. However, let's just move on to the looks for a second. It looks like a Golf GTI, doesn't it? That's because it actually shares many of the same exterior components. Instead of red accents though, it does have black and silver accents. And I'm actually swaying towards the looks of the GTD. There aren't that many on the road, so when people see it, they do tend to think that, whoa, what's that? That's a sort of blacked out looking GTI, and I prefer it. I think it looks much more understated. It flies under the radar a little bit better, and it still looks special. It looks a little bit more elegant, I think. That's just opinion based. Another thing is, around the rear you will find two exhaust pipes, just like the Golf GTI, except this time they are together. They are next to each other, whereas the Golf GTI separates these two together, if you get what I mean. Powering the Golf GTD is a 2-litre TDI engine. Now, VW diesel scandals aside, this is actually quite a good engine. You've got 130 kilowatts, and surprisingly, oddly, you would think that a diesel engine has more torque. This has the same 350 Newton meters as its GTI sibling. However, in the United States, the Golf GTD is uptuned to 380 Newton meters. So in SA, guys, it is 350 Newton meters. Moving on to the price of the Golf GTD, and this is where it gets interesting. The Golf GTD starts at it starts at 528,000 Rand. That is 40 grand cheaper than its GTI counterpart. Not only that, I've actually gone and done a bit of maths here, because it is a diesel, so it is expected to achieve better fuel economy. The Golf GTD, according to VW, will do 5.3 litres per 100 in its combined cycle. The Golf GTI will do 6.4 litres in its combined cycle. Now, I've picked up a few stats off the internet. The average South African drives 25,000 kilometers per year. At the time of making this video, petrol is priced at 14 Rand and 8 cents, diesel being priced at 13 Rand and 17 cents. Now, when you take those two numbers along with the fuel consumption figures, in the Golf GTI, you are expected to pay 22,528 Rand in petrol per year. The Golf GTD, however, you are expected to pay 17,450 Rand a year. Add that all up, and the saving is 5,078 Rand a year if you buy the Golf GTD. So not only are you saving 40,000 Rand when you buy the GTD as opposed to the Golf GTI, but you are saving a further 5,000 Rand a year. Call it 5,000 Rand a year. It doesn't sound like much, but if you are somebody who does more mileage than just 25,000 Ks a year, not a bad option. Moving on to the interior of the VW Golf GTD, and really quality is the name with Volkswagen. It is a German company and everything is exceptionally well built and well put together. You won't find that many harsh plastics. They are harsh plastics, but mostly everything you are going to touch anyway is very soft and a pleasure to use. It actually goes so far as the door bins are actually cloth lined, so if you put something in there, it prevents rattling. That's how far the VW engineers have gone. As standard, inside you will find an 8-inch touchscreen with App Connect, which is Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Unfortunately, but it's not really too much of an unfortunate, SatNav is an optional extra. I want to say it's worth it, but if App Connect is coming as standard, you probably are going to run Waze off of it. Another thing that is an optional extra, which this I highly recommend, is the active info display. And this replaces the traditional gauge clusters with a display unit. Think of it as Audi Virtual Cockpit, but a VW version. So if you do opt for the SatNav extra, you will have a map displayed in there. That's the only reason why I would go for the SatNav optional extra. Because if you do run Waze or Apple Maps or Google Maps off of it, it gives this like weird pop-up that says navigation is being used on mobile device. And when you scroll through all of the other menus, such as your music menu, it's just going to say Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's not going to give you too much information. But if you do decide to get the sat-nav and connect your phone via Bluetooth, it'll even give you artwork of the music that you're listening to. Even the radio stations have artwork. So 94.7, Jacaranda, 5FM, they all have their own little artwork piece. So if you can't see the numbers, you can see the artwork. And you'll know what radio station you're listening to. It really is quite high tech. Okay, we're going to have to make this a little bit quick because the Popo are about to shut me down. It was going to be quick anyway, and it's the topic of practicality. Yes, everybody knows the VW Golf is a practical car. How practical, you might be thinking? Well, you can fit a mountain bike in here without taking the front wheel off as long as you fold the rear seats down. Apart from that, you can still fit 5 adults comfortably in here on a long road trip. All your luggage, all your golf clubs, everything you really need. It's a car for the people, it's a people mover. Now, I know you guys are wondering what exactly a VGR sounds like, so here's the rev that nobody really asked for. Guys, unfortunately, my GoPro has decided to just die on me, so that means that I can't do any driving filming, but I hope you'll forgive me. However, we are still going to talk about how the car drives. Now, dynamically, it is actually set up exactly the same as a Golf GTI. So that means that you do get Golf GTI handling and Golf GTI ride comfort. This one has the optional adaptive dampers where you can go into the settings and configure drive mode. Now, you have the choice of 3 drive modes. You have Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport, and an individual mode. Within the individual mode, you can configure your DCC. I wonder what DCC is. Actually, we can go in and we can find out what DCC is. Never mind, we can't. You can configure your steering from sport, normal to comfort. You can configure the drive. The car even has a dynamic cornering light. And you can even configure the air conditioning and the engine sound. So, drive-wise, it will drive like a Golf GTI. Even though I haven't driven the Golf GTI, the main difference comes in terms of power delivery and the engine. So, because the VGR is a diesel, that does mean that it doesn't rev as high as a Golf GTI. Some might say it wouldn't be as thrilling. I haven't driven the GTI. I don't know that. The sound is definitely going to be different. It doesn't take much to figure that out. I mean, listen to this. We'll give you guys an insight. It doesn't always sound like a tractor. You might be thinking, you're buying a diesel, it's always going to sound clackety and it's not going to sound that great. I can tell you right now, it really isn't that bad. I mean, most of the time you're going to have the windows rolled up. You do have a sunroof, very cool. But most of the time you're going to be driving this in isolation by yourself, playing some tunes. By the way, very good speaker system. So you never really get the opportunity to hear this diesel, and you don't ever really think, oh wow, that sounds completely rubbish, because it doesn't. It is a diesel. Yeah, it sounds like a diesel, but it's not so intrusive to the point where you are going to lose your cool with it and be like, oh, this sounds terrible, I should have spent the extra 40 grand. It's not like that. There is one main difference, and it is going to be the power delivery. And wait, before I go any further, I need to say that this is the only diesel Golf that you can buy in the lineup at the moment in South Africa. And I also have to say that I think VW South Africa did a pretty good job with this, bringing diesel back, making it seem a little bit more cool again. It is admirable with the whole VW GT, Golf GTI performance and the frugality of a diesel combination. That being said, most of your power is going to be in the mid-range on the Golf GTD. So torque is always on offer. What I find is that overtakes in that don't really require a cog swap unless you really need that urgency. But most times it's just put your foot a little bit more down and the car will respond with literally all the torque, 350 Newton meters right from the get-go. And overtaking power is more than necessary. Now, there's also another thing that you have to keep in mind here. The Golf GTI will do 0 to 100 in 6.4 seconds. The GTD will do 0 to 100 in 7.4 seconds. Now, it comes to the point where you have to ask yourself, and it's back to the price again. Is 40 grand more worth it for an extra second? Alright, so, concluding thoughts on the Golf GTD. And I'm quite upset to hand it back to Lindsay Saker In Fourways, because I've quite enjoyed this car. The DSG gearbox, the beautiful steering, how you can adjust it from sport to normal. I find myself usually in sport. I do like a little bit of a weighty steering feel. And then there's a gearbox. In fact, I've driven this car both efficiently and driven it a little bit to the limit. In efficient mode, the car will actually sort of go into this neutral mode, and it will coast. It'll disengage the gears and coast, and it will literally consume absolutely no petrol. Something weird though, it has no start-stop technology in it. I find that very odd, especially when we're in the days where even the Polo has start-stop technology. Why doesn't this have start-stop technology? I don't know why. But again, moving on to the concluding thoughts. Driving the Golf GTD, you are going to buy this car as your everyday runabout. This is going to be your daily driver most probably. You're not driving the Golf GTD to drive it like a complete nut every single day of the week. It's a very comfortable car, and it is a very compliant car. It's not going to light your pants on fire with excitement. It's not that type of car. It just isn't. But when you want to have a little bit of fun, you can just click the drive mode into sport. The gearbox becomes way more responsive. The steering tightens up. And I'm going to say this very lightly, the engine sound gets a little bit better. And I do think that there is some sort of fake piping of sound in here. I'm not complaining. It is for driver engagement and for driver enjoyment, and I particularly enjoy it. So, as a well-rounded car, as a car that has power when you need it, it has the up and go. It can be a sporty car to chuck it through the corners. It is basically a Golf GTI, and it will handle very well and very compliantly. And then you get the frugality of a diesel engine. And like I said to you guys, diesel scandal aside, this is a very good power plant. Let me tell you guys my achieved fuel consumption. Let me just go here onto the setting here. Consumption and range, let's see. This is what I've managed, by the way. And it is with mixed driving. I have managed 6.8 liters per 100 with pushing it as well. 6.8 liters per 100. And I think I'll end the review there. VW South Africa, if you are watching this, as I said, I would love to review a Golf GTD and a Golf GTI side by side. I've made this review as objective as possible. I really did enjoy this car, and I do think that it should be an option on some people's list, because the thing is, if you want a GTI, you want a GTI. You probably aren't going to walk into a showroom and think, I think I'm going to buy a Diesel GTI. However, if you are in the market for something a little bit more sporty, and you don't feel like draining half a tank of petrol every so often, this might be a viable option. We'll end it off with that. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Sam from the car scene. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and yeah, subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching, guys.